Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 657 for the 12th of December. And major news over at MARINKA, the scam village or scam town of MARINKA, we finally have a little less scammy. So due to the geolocation of Russian forces raising the flag over at the most western end of the house around here, basically confirmed that the Russian forces have conquered the entire southern part of MARINKA. So this attack is reported and acknowledged by Deep State UA, the pro-Ukrainian side. As you can see, the geolocation is actually by Deep State UA, and this is also highlighted by Ryber. So there is counter-attack being reported by the Russian Defense Ministry. They say that there is a attack, it was repelled, and probably the failure of the counter-attack means that the Russian forces have successfully taken the entire southern half. The fighting continues over in the northern half as per reported by Ryber. They are still fighting over there. Over on the Ivana Franka Street, they're going to go straight down and capture the rest of MARINKA. Basically, MARINKA, the chapter for MARINKA is probably going to end soon, given the fact that the Ukrainian forces don't seem to have the capability right now, or the ability right now to, or the resources right now to actually conduct any more significant offensive operation, especially with the Russian forces have superior drones now. The number of drones they have, the quality of drones, and in terms of airstrikes and the coordination, the hybrid, the combined warfare between using the drones and infantry as a combined warfare is basically a new form of warfare which was not it never existed before. So this has been pivotal for the Russians to actually capture the rest of MARINKA despite the heavy entrenchment of the Ukrainian forces. So we're going to start to see fighting start to go towards Georgivka or Kharkivka as we move forward from I think the next week or two. We'll start to see this kind of thing. However, Ryber did mention that the Ukrainian forces has heavily mined this area here between MARINKA and Georgivka. So we shall see how this proceed. Another interesting thing is the development north of this in Krasnohorivka. The Russian forces seems to take another tree line in their offensive. So far, we have been reporting about fighting over at Krasnohorivka from the 8th, 11th, and 12th. Now I start to see the mapping change in terms of the Ukrainian mapping. There's the Russian forces pushing in this direction towards Krasnohorivka. This is also a fortress city. There is a lot of heavy entrenchment around this area. You can actually go to Google Maps and you can take a look yourself. You can actually see all the holes from artillery systems. You can see the entrenchment. These are all pre-war. This is not the modern day war, not the current war's satellite imaging. So even before that, this is already a battlefield, and currently I think it's going to be a lot more dotted with artillery holes. Further south, there's also development. So a very busy Donetsk Front, which means the Russians have basically ramped up their offensive, which you should already know if you have been following DPA's reporting. This time around, we have more detailed information coming from Novomikhailivka. The Deep State UA reported that there's fighting reported north of Novomikhailivka. According to the Ukrainians, they say that the Russians, according to their mapping, have captured this area here. The Russian forces continue to be pushing. They straighten the line here, and they are going to continue to move downwards and probably capture the stronghold around here. There is also fighting generally reported at Novomikhailivka. According to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, the Russians say that the Ukrainians actually counterattack probably around this area here. And interestingly, Deep State UA also mentioned about the south of Novomikhailivka, where the Russians are still conducting assault, which means that we are actually seeing some kind of a flanking movement from both sides, north and south, while they are also pushing from the east, which is actually almost like a all-around attack. I can't think of the word for it. So because saying pincer, this is not actually just pincer. This is like more than pincer. This is like osmosis. So that's all from the Novomikhailivka. There is no information coming from the Voleda or the Novodonetsk region. So generally, the front line seems to be in this area here: Krasnohorivka, MARINKA, in the north of Novomikhailivka, east and south. So the Russian forces is basically pushing in this direction in a major big arrow offensive in some sense, if you get what I mean. But of course, this entire area is heavily entrenched. This is one of the main defense line of the Ukrainian forces. This one comes all the way since pre-war. So this area here is extremely hard to penetrate through with multiple lines of defenses. Like it looks like ridiculous. I can tell you, if you actually if you ever have the opportunity to see the actual mapping from the military side, I don't think it's going to look very pretty. It's going to be, crawling with worms. So another major front line with major action is over at the Avdiivka Front. The Russian forces at the Avdiivka Front continue their Avdiivka offensive, with fighting reported east of Novokalinove, east of Novobakhmutivka, Stepove, at the coke plant, south of Krasnohorivka, or south of the volcano, the stacks heap around the region around Kolyamka, in the south of Avdiivka, south of Zhevny, south of Tonenke, at Povomaisky, as well as over on the eastern part of Nevelsky. As you can see, over in this area here is also very intense. The Russian offensive, if you are still not aware, is in full-fledged progress. So this is very scary, and there is significant development is over on the southern part. The Russian forces have penetrated into the forest region, according to the Russian sources. Previously, the Russians are still holding around this area here, around this dacha or village region, or the Voroniki, anyway, an industrial area here. So what happens is that they broke through, and they have spread out in this area here, reaching the first line of town buildings or village buildings in this area here. According to Ryba's mapping, the way how they draw is that they say that the Russians have done the attack in this kind of direction. I think it's not inconceivable, because we already have geolocation of this destruction of the recoilless rifle over in this area here, as the Russian forces attack it with drone. I believe that this will weaken the defense, allowing the Russian infantry to actually push through. So we shall continue to see the Russians continue to make progress, I believe, into all these very complicated web of town or villages. Yeah, good town planning. So otherwise, we don't have a lot of developments around this area here. It's just the more or less the same thing as per previous SITREP. There is interesting information I want to tell you. This is Zhevny, right? Or Seveny. Some of them, they actually don't write the J. It's only Seveny. I always pronounce it in the way how they wrote it in the Google Maps. I just realized, when you put Pivnishny into the Google Translate, and then you put Pivnishny in English, and then you translate it to Russian, it becomes Zhevny. This one, it becomes Zhevny. It was like, what? So now you know, so which means that all the time that they are talking about Pivnishny is actually talking about Zhevny. So it's actually not the other Pivnishny, which is over here. It's not this one. This one, the Russians will call it Kirovo. They will call it Kirovo or Kirov. And so yeah. So we finally cleared this out. So we're gonna map it more correctly this time around, because the main thing was because Ryba talked about this in specifics. He says southwest of Avdiivka, Russian units are trying to reach the southern outskirts of Pivnishny and Tonenke. I was like, Pivnishny, southwest of Avdiivka? I was like, damn, there must be a village that I'm missing, So I went to try to Google Translate, and then the word came out of Zhevny. Was like, what? Okay. So, okay. Yeah. The more you know. And then there is geolocation of Ukrainian forces within Novokalinove. So just simply shows that the Ukrainians are still in the village. Otherwise, pressure is building. The Russians are attacking from the north and the south, closing up the gap around here. They are trying to capture Zhevny and Tonenke, putting pressure on Olivka and Lashtokini. And with Stepove breaking, if they break through, you will capture Berdaichi, and then this push in the east of Bakhmutivka will capture Bakhmutivka, capture Novokhanovo. You can see that the entire shithole that is going to happen, you know. Yeah. So anyway, this is the Avdiivka Front. We move on. Another major news is over at the New York Front. At the New York Front, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry celebrated. Actually, I should use another one. They said, well, it's still the same thing. Okay, so Deep State UA. So they celebrated the capture of a slag heap. So there's this volcano around here. No volcano, it's a slag heap. It basically is a trash mountain. So basically they liberated the slag heap from a mine. What the fuck? What am I talking about? They liberated the rubbish from a mountain, which is the mountain, rubbish is the mountain. So then they put a flag on the rubbish mountain, and then Deep State UA say that the movement in the area is unexpected and sudden for everyone, resulting in success for the Ukrainian military. I would say it's less of like a unexpected or sudden. It's more like the Russians can't be bothered. So the battles were still heavy, and then so they managed to capture this little hill region, which I did seem to have reported this before. So that is a bit weird. So I'm not sure. Like you can see in my mapping, I already declared that this is captured. So you know, it could be it could be a thing that they actually, you know, after they captured this hill, and then they took a photo. Then after they take the photo, what happened is that they maybe have no internet around here. They took like maybe 2 weeks or more to finally, you know. So the last time we see the capture is like 30th of November. So it takes around 2 weeks to transfer the photo all the way to their propaganda unit to publish on the internet. So you know, so I don't think this is news. Honestly, I don't think this is news because I have already reported this long time ago. So so let's see how this goes. Further up north, we have again this fighting reported at Kirovo, which is now the Prishnivne. We now know, according to the Russian Defense Ministry, the Ukrainian forces attacked in this region here. So probably towards Mayos, and we have corroboration of this based on geolocation, based by military summary of Ukrainian forces are trying to cross the railway track around here, and then they got hit by Russian fire. So this could be the thing, and I think Russians maybe just avoiding using the word Mayosk, because you know they need the mayonnaise to eat some bread. So another major development comes from Kupyansk. So a lot of major development. The Russian forces resume their, or rather re-expanded or reignited, or there's add oil to fire to the Kupyansk offensive. So in the Kupyansk city, at the Kupyansk Front, the Russian forces continued their attack at Sinkivka. They were reportedly attacking at Petropavlivka, and this time around they have made progress south of Petrovskaya over at the Zagoryokivka region, as well as attack Ivanivka. If you have been following the SITREP, you will know that the fighting have reduced to the point where they are only fighting around Sinkivka region. This time around, we have reports of them fighting again. So maybe resupply came, they get new ammo, they reorganize, and then they went on the attack again. And this time around, interestingly, there is no reports of Ukrainian attack or Ukrainian counterattack across the front line, particularly over the Sinkivka region. We have been seeing reports of the Ukrainian counterattack from the 3rd to the 12th. Literally every day, almost every day, we see Ukrainians supposedly counterattacking. This time around, we don't have this. So very, very interesting in this sense. So we shall continue to monitor. Yet you see another front line that the Russians is making heavy push. So I think this is now a competition between the generals to see who can do more stuff. So over at this southern front, in the Kherson Front, over at Kherson Front, there is Ukrainians continue to hold a position around Krinky, but there's no news around there. What we do have is the Russians using FPV drones to hit the truck that is traveling over in Tyakhinka, where they are supposed to load up a boat and then travel the resupply to Krinky. That boat was hit. by FPV. The truck was hit by FPV drones. This comes on top of the Russians has already been sending FPV drones at these boats that is traveling around the Dnipro River. Another geolocation is over here at this what is this called? Zimivnik. At Zimivnik, the Russians dropped an airstrike on a supposed Ukrainian sabotage group gathered around this area here. They're probably going to load up to some boats or whatnot. They got hit. And this was also reported by the Russian Defense Ministry. But the Russian Defense Ministry reported about this attack. They say that this is actually artillery fire at the 123rd Territorial Defense Brigade units, concentrated over in the area of Komishani or Kamishani. So they say that 35 troops was supposedly killed with 2 motor vehicles. So yeah, you can take it with how you want, but interestingly is that the video footage that was geolocated actually corroborated the Russian report. So as much as you may not like the Russian Defense Ministry, you think that they are always lying, everything that they report is fake, there is corroboration in terms of that report. So you can eat your own words. Over at another area at Novoberislav, there is another airstrike. Russian fat bombs was dropped on Ukrainian forces over in the northern part of Novoberislav. So this is a continuation of multiple strikes by the Russian Air Force on or artillery on Ukrainian lines along the Dnipro River. Either that the Ukrainian forces has been gathering forces around the river region here, and they are trying to cross over to attack and start a new front, or the Russians are gathering forces on the opposite side and they are trying to soften the defenses on the other side, and then they launch an attack into the northern part of the Kherson across the river. So we shall see how it goes. Is it the Ukrainian offensive or the Russian offensive expanding over in the Kherson Front? We shall wait and see. Very interesting, very interesting. Over at the Zaporizhzhia Front, this is Zaporizhzhia. At the Zaporizhzhia Front, At the Zaporizhzhia Front, there is geolocation of Ukrainian forces getting bombarded by artillery system geolocated by Kreminna Caprice. The fact that they are here actually changed the front line. Previously, we are not very sure the front line, where is it? You map it something like this, which means that now the mapping is now like this. So in maths, we call this a right angle. This is a right angle. So 90 degrees is a right angle. So important to note. And so the Ukrainian forces basically have an attack in this area probably some time ago. It's not recent, I believe, and they have been holding this position for some time. But the lack of news coming from this area here and details means that we don't really know where the front line was until now. And this also means that out of the major entrenchment around this area here, there's some heavy entrenchment around here. The one in the most northern part probably is already taken or is now in the gray zone because it's too close. This is so close to this area here, so I believe this is either captured or now abandoned by the Russian forces. So, but there is still way more defense line around here. There's major entrenchment here, and then you have a series of defense line all along the road. So, yeah, this is deliberately designed to make it extremely discouraging for the Ukrainians to actually go towards Vasilivka. So we move on over at the Orikhiv sector. At the Orikhiv sector, fighting continues in this area here. The Ukrainian counteroffensive or no actions around this area is totally gone. Russians resume their attack west of Verbove in the south of Robotine as well as the west of Robotine. So this attack resumed again. So we shall continue to see how this progress, whether the Ukrainians can continue to hold this line around here. As you can see, this actually resembles a lot like the other front line is quite shitty. So there is this fighting or bombardment near Novoselivka. This is extremely weird. Novoselivka, according to the Russian Defense Ministry, they say that they repelled a Ukrainian attack near to Novoselivka. This is so far away from the front line I'm not sure how to map it, so I put it in a question mark. Because I don't believe the Russians have captured Sharifne yet. So my understanding is that they only have up to Merne. So unless the front line is at Hulyaipiske or Sharifne, then I can understand the Ukrainian attack from Novosibirsk. So we shall wait and see. We have more information, or is it yet another case of mistaken identity, like the Pivnishne Kirovo situation in Germany region? We shall see how this goes. We move on. Over at the Velika Novosibirsk sector, the Russians also continued their attack over in the northern part of Prione, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. That's all we know. Geolocation by Kreminna Caprice of Ukrainian forces getting hit by FPV drone over in the, I would say this is called west of Makarivka. This is the west of Makarivka. So yeah, which shows that the Russian forces is eyeing, using their evil eyes, eyeing the eye of Sauron, cast their sights over in this area here to look at plants. So so that's all over at Makarivka and Velika Novosibirsk sector. We covered Donetsk, we covered Avdiivka, we covered New York. Now we go to Bakhmut Front. Can't believe Bakhmut Front is getting dropped to the rear, because so many developments across the front line over the past 24 hours. So over at the northern flank, the Russian forces continue their offensive around this area here. Let me adjust the mapping. So the fighting continues, mainly according to Ryba's video, which sometimes is very inaccurate according to based on my experience. The Russian forces attacking in this direction in this way. Although our mapping will always put one in the north to signify fighting at Berdyanivka. So the fighting is indeed in this area here. Particularly, they are talking about the fighting around the highway region. The Ukrainian forces did counter-attack over at the Kromove region. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, Artyomovsk is Kromove. So the Ukrainian forces did try to counter-attack in this area here. Two big arrow around here. So I not sure how well it goes. The Ryba also reported further about pushing Ukrainian forces out of the forest line on the western part of Bakhmut. I'm not sure if this is the one, or there's some kind of a forest that I'm not seeing on the satellite map. And there is also fighting reported in the area of Ivanivsky, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. So this is currently happening. However, based on the geolocation, the front line seems to be more accurate in terms of around here. This seems to be where the front line is. And because based on the geolocation of a video, the Russian forces, geolocated by Kreminna Caprice, started out from here around in the video. They attacked Ukrainian positions around this area here. So this actually shows that the front line is actually more towards around this area here. It does change our front line a little bit by one street, but we only change on the Ukrainian side, because ultimately I'm still not exactly sure what is the situation. We shall continue to monitor and see. So further south, over in the southern flank of the Bakhmut Front, the Russian forces seems to have some success in the north of Klishchiivka. I'm not particularly sure in terms of the mapping. They captured that numbered hill, which I can't be bothered with the name, because you will forget about it anyway. So the hill 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 has been captured by the Russians, and the Russians continue their pressure on Klishchiivka as well as Avdiivka. So further south, I don't think there's anything. Yeah, so the Russian forces is mainly focusing on this area here, Berdyanivka, around Kromove region, in the west or southwest of Bakhmut, towards Ivanivsky in the north of Klishchiivka, and Klishchiivka as well as Avdiivka. So you can see this entire white front line pushing in one direction towards Konstantinivka. So we shall continue to wait and see how this develops. And I'm quite sure the Ukrainians have multiple lines of defense around all this area here. So it is going to be not a cakewalk, not a walk in the park. So it's going to be months and months of fighting if the Ukrainians can have continue to have ammunition and manpower to hold the line. So we move on. There's nothing over the Siversk Front. We move into the Kreminna Front. At the Kreminna Front, the Russian forces attack within the Serebrenske forestry with the Ukrainians counter-attack over in the Dibrova region, and that's about it over the Kreminna Front. We don't have a lot of details. Further up north, over the Makiivka, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry reported about the Russian attack over at the Makiivka Front, while the Russian forces say that the Ukrainians attack in the Gregivka region, or basically Petrovskoye. Petrovskoye. So yeah, this is always going to be very weird, because of course, as usual, this is very out of the way. But however, this location is indeed called Petrovskoye. So we shall see what does this supposed to mean. Mapping the front line according to the Ukrainians is actually way further away. So we shall wait and see. Where over time we will find out the truth, whether I have another mistaken identity of the village again. And yeah, I believe I covered all the fronts. So and all the fronts is in Europe, Western Europe. Is actually besides Spain, and yeah, and they tend to surrender very quickly. And this is the summary for the day of 657 for the 12th of December. Do press the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next update.